Hi, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is actually June 1st, late Saturday afternoon. But I promised, since I didn't get a chance to do a chart lesson on Friday, that I would try to do one Saturday if I got a chance, and I did. So I'm going to do one. I'm going to do something a little different today. I didn't get to trade Friday. I had to take the day off. I had some other things, personal things going on, so I didn't trade. But I came back. I always like to go back and see what happened, and we really had a trading range for most of the day, although prices spent the majority of the day trading downward in this somewhat of a channel. We really had this bigger trading range picture here that so we were really in a trading range until, I would say, until right in this area right here is when the next leg kind of sell-off started here. But let me just show you some tricks, I call them tricks, but just some ways that I find the right setups and how I do this. And you probably, let's get rid of that line. I don't know what that was. This is what I would have been looking at right here for a pullback to begin with early in the morning. So there really was a short right here. Let me go ahead and mark that one and explain this to you, and to show you what I would have been looking for and what I would have seen. And we had this support area right across. This is really a trading range, and you would have had another line right up here somewhere, probably right along there. That's where you get the most touches, and the most touches down here with the closes and so forth are probably right there, and maybe even actually right there probably looks better. You get the most touches there. So there's your trading range that we were in early morning, and we broke out right here. And notice how prices never came back and tested this. So we know that's what's going to happen at some point. You know prices are going to muster up the courage to try to come back, and it's generally going to be within, the next couple of hours, sometime in the next, if it happens early in the morning, sometime that morning it's going to try, unless the market is just really, really weak, and then it may take on off. But at some point, legitimately, prices are going to try to come back and test the support, because this was strong support. We bounced 1, 2, 3, you can count that one, 4, and a little bit of a bounce there. So prices are coming back here. They don't just sell off like that, especially that strongly, and then without coming back. So when we got this little break here, that was a good clue. A lot of times you would think we might make a new low first, but we didn't. And basically what we did was we came back and tested that. But let me show you how a good way to find that this might have been the low. You see this move right here? Let's just show you this real quick. This move is probably about so wide, see? And look at this next move. I bet it's very similar. Look at there. You see how it's about the same? The market moves. There's a geometry to the market, and it moves in twos, and it's equal. So you got to remember that, and always look for that. And that's always a good way to find your targets and to find your expected bounces. But this is a nice, strong double bottom. This is for the market open, so I didn't mark any of these. This is the very first trade. And you can see that we've had two pretty strong legs up to a new high that tested this, and there's a good chance that even if prices are going higher, we're going to pull back to the EMA. So that's a great setup right there at the open. Nice little reversal bar going short right there. Let me make this a little bigger now that we see the bigger picture. Going short right there. That's an easy scalp. Nothing more, because prices bounce back. But there was another short right here. You should have drawn your trend line off those first two swings, because we always do that just to kind of keep and this chart looks really busy, but normally I would clean this stuff off as the day progresses so that my chart doesn't look so crowded, but it's hard to do that and teach at the same time. So, but notice when I find a day that's at a trading range or there's not a lot of moves, I start drawing these trend lines and use them to kind of keep me on the right side of the market. And it's usually your first couple of swings like that. And so I drew this off the first couple, so then it was pretty obviously these were entry points probably all the way down through here. And there was actually a trade right here. This was a breakout pullback short, but it's also a nice setup off of that short-term trend line right there. So there was actually another entry right there that I could have marked as well. Let's just go ahead and mark it. So in case somebody comes back and views this again later, you've got all the trades. So right out of the gate, you got 3 nice trades. But let's talk about this one. Let me tell you why I like this trade. Well, first of all, you should have had your line off the first couple of swings there. And then when we tested it again and it failed and turned down, that's a good sign that prices are going lower. And another thing, notice, let me show you what this is. We made a new high right here, so the count's 0. There's your pullback. There's your first entry long, pullback to the EMA, and then there's a second entry long. That is a strong signal that most traders are going to take, because those trades fail very often. Second entry longs coming off a pullback to the EMA, they just don't fail very often. So there's a possibility you might have even got trapped here, but if you waited for the right kind of bar, you shouldn't have got trapped there. Notice that that's a bearish bar, and notice that this one's is green, has some green in it, but look, it's got at least a couple of ticks of stem there. So there wasn't really a setup or a signal bar yet that was a really good one in the right direction. So that might have kept you out. But sometimes you don't get a good signal bar, and if you don't take these, you just don't get them. And so if you got trapped there, you should have been reversing, because that's a failed second entry long. So you know there's going to be a lot of trick traders, and probably some good traders get tricked right there too. So go short right here, and that's an easy scalp. That's almost a gimme. And especially if you drew your trend line and saw it right there, because then you know prices tested that trend line twice. So when they came back here again on this breakout pullback below this little double bottom right here, it's just another setup. And you could have gone short between either one of those dojis or this one right here that waited for it to touch it again. And that was another nice easy trade down. And then you got your trend line right here. Well, here's the first break. And so you actually could have taken either one of these trades. This one you never really got a good setup bar, so I didn't really want to mark it. I wanted to mark this one, but that's a nice bearish setup bar, so going short right there is another easy scalp. And then this is just a double top that tested this again. You can see those equal tops. So if you want to, you wait for this bar, go short right there, boom, another easy scalp. And then this was a second entry short coming off this double top, also a breakout pullback short. See if you come down here and put your lines there, you can see there's like a little double triple bottom there. This is a breakout pullback short right here, and another easy scalp. So these are all great setups. This is a bigger pattern of a double top. As you can see, you got your one high over here and your others over here, so it's a broader double top. And then this is just a little congestion area, but more importantly, this is one of those two-legged pullbacks to the EMA. There it is, leg one, little pullback, leg two, so it's a perfect two-legged measured move. So going short, that bar is good enough. You got one with a red body, so go short right there, and another easy scalp. And then this is a second entry short off that move right there, so another short right there, and on down. This one was a little iffy right here because these bars were really overlapping right here, and there was not a lot of room down here to this double bottom yet. So if you didn't take this one, it was a little iffy, but I still marked it because basically because it's a second entry short that probably trapped people. It's kind of a breakout pullback long, not a second entry short, I'm sorry, a second entry long. It's a breakout pullback long that failed, so it's really a trap. And so going short right there because it's a trap makes it okay. And then it was off down, and that one's really subjective. You know, you just have to have an eye for this, and if you got in right there and prices broke down and suddenly reversed, that wouldn't have been a good sign at all. But it was an easy little move down through there, so I marked it. But here was the best entry because this is a two-legged pullback to the EMA. It's a failed break above this little, out of this little congestion area, and all this was another retest of that made a lower high, and that's another clue there. It's a lower high. But I don't like all those overlapping bars. It's dangerous entering in that if you're not at a key entry point. But generally, anywhere near the EMA is often the key entry point. But normally my key entry points that I'm talking about are the strong support, resistance, and the trend lines, support and resistance areas. So just keep that in mind. This one was another failed break above these highs right across here. You can see that, and even if you had it right here, just a failed break higher. Let me show you this. This is another thing here. Another reason I really like this trade was because I drew my line off these lows down here. First I had it off these, but when this went lower, I just moved it, dropped it down. And if you copy that line and drag it up, look what you get right there. And that's the top of the channel. And that's exactly where prices turn. But even if you didn't have that or find that, you should have seen all this resistance all the way across here, and known that was a failed break higher, and going short right there. You're just looking for a scalp to begin with, but you're expecting prices to maybe come back down here and test these lows where these bottoms were right across here before, and there's plenty of room. And this is actually 2 legs up right here if you measure that. So it's a second entry short. There's leg 1. Get it drawn, and then there's leg 2, almost a perfect measured move, and then it's off to the races. And then we're thinking, hey, prices may come back down here they're probably going to come down here to test these lows across here, and they may come all the way down and test this channel if this is indeed the channel we found here. So and this right here is another breakout pullback short, but look, it's a 2-legged, 1 leg up pullback, second leg up to the EMA. And we didn't have this trend line in place yet. It wasn't in place. But that's the other thing. If you draw your short-term trend lines, they're going to help keep you on the right side. And if you notice this one, you got a break here and then a couple legs up to a new high, and then you got this one, and you actually, this one might have actually, I don't know for sure that I got that one drawn right. It could have been more like that, but it doesn't really. Yeah, I guess it does. Then we came off that trend line, and actually we pulled back and tested it right there. So that's probably, that actually looks better to me than the way I had it drawn the first time. But that's something I always tell people. Your trend line, you don't have to be exact. I still think that's the trend line, because look at those first 3 bars. I think I had it right the first time. And then we broke, and then a couple legs to a new high, and then the sell-off. So that really makes more sense. I do believe I had it right the first time, and so we'll leave it at that. And this one, you could have drawn it like this, but if you draw it off those first 2 bars, and you're going to get something like that right there, and you can see that held prices all the way down till we got a break right here, and then we sold off a couple legs down to a new low. So yes, indeed, that's it right there. And then I don't have this one on there, but let's just say we drew that one. That looks about like it right there. We had a little break, then a couple of moves up, and then another sell-off. So the trend lines, even if you have to go to short-term trend lines, that's my point in all this, is that try to find your short-term trend lines that keep you on the right side. And these setups are all pretty easy to see right here once you got the lines in place. And yeah, it's a whole lot easier to put them on here after the fact, no doubt about that. But if you get good at this, you can learn to spot this in real time. And this is just a breakout pullback short, so to the trend line, and then to test this support area from across here from the overnight. And so that's a nice setup right there. So nothing, I mean, it wasn't a great continuous easy to find trend, but it's all there if you know where to look. And you can see how many entries that was. That's way too many trades to take. So the best ones were to wait on the ones at the strong resistance here, maybe the ones on the trend lines coming down, and even if even late here in the afternoon, if you got your trend line off those first couple, look at these other moves that you could have got off the trend line. So just draw your trend lines, even if it has to be short-term ones, and make sure you find when you're in a channel. And this was a bigger channel, like I said from earlier. This was a big, we were really in a trading range until it did. Usually you expect it to go from the lows to the highs, but we didn't quite make the lows right there. But then we didn't make the highs either. So, and let me show you this. I guarantee you, there's leg one down, and you got a little correction, and there's leg two, and look, it's almost a perfect measured move right down here to this trend line or channel line that you should have drawn off those two swings. And so it's all there if you can find it. Sometimes it's harder to find it, but that's where your experience comes in, and you just got to keep working on it. And I can see where, I don't know how most people did Friday. I didn't get a lot of feedback from Friday. Most of you knew I probably wasn't trading because I'd mentioned it. But if you're having a hard time finding a trend, then there's either two things. Either there is no trend, or secondly, you're just not seeing it and you haven't found it yet. So, but either way, the trick is, or the proper move, I should say, not the trick, the proper move is don't trade. If you can't find the trend and you're not sure if you found the trend lines, or you're not sure you found the right support and resistance, don't guess. Don't say, okay, I think this is it, I'm going to jump in the market. You're better off to sit here and watch this thing move all day long and never take a trade. Even though that may seem like you didn't learn anything, you probably still learned more than you think you did, and best of all, you didn't lose your money. You didn't lose money. So keep those facts in mind, and just remember, if you can't find the key entry points, then don't trade. Just wait, just keep watching, keep playing with your lines until, that's what I'll do a lot of times. If I'm having a hard time seeing it, usually that's telling me something. But early on, this might have been difficult to see right here, but by the time we got to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, if you couldn't see that this was a down sloping channel, look, you could see these were all real close. So even if you started way up here and drew your trend line down, off of that right there, I bet you still find it. Draw it right off that right there. Copy that, and so you could have had that by 8:30. Drop that in there. Now, you wouldn't have known where this was going to show up down here, but look, there's your channel. It's that. You just have to kind of look around and move your stuff around and test until you see it. But if you didn't do anything, but if you found those two lines right there and copied them and brought them down, or if you waited for those two lines right there and then copied it and brought it up, which would have probably got you up to right there, you see. That's where I originally had it, but now I actually kind of like that better. And all I did was play around with the lines a little bit. And but if you find the channel, and like I said, you should be able to see that channel here by at least by 10 o'clock when that turned back down. You should be able to see that channel with no lines at all. If you can't, then you're not there yet. You're just not there yet. You need more practice. You need more experience. But learn to find those channels. And once you do, look what happened. Each time we got to the low channel, you could have bought. I don't recommend you buy, but you could have bought any one of these touches and got an easy scalp, except for that one, and that was at the close, and you wouldn't have been trading then. And you could have sold any one of these touches up here and made money. And I actually had a student that I've been sending emails back and forth for quite a while, and he sends me some of his trades every now and then, and asks me to critique them. And he did a video. And I'm not sure where he entered, but I'm pretty sure it was one of these points right in here. And he had a pretty good trade, made some pretty good money. I'm not sure if it was a live trade or a sim trade, but it doesn't matter. He did it right all the same. He entered a little bit early. I'm just not sure where he was at. I'm thinking maybe it was this trade right here. But he entered down here a little bit before it got to the trend line. So I'm not sure where he entered, but anyway, that's not even important. The point is that he's learning to spot these trend lines, and he wasn't afraid to enter on a blind trade right in front of that trend line, and it was a nice, easy trade for him. It took a minute to take off, but once it did, he made money. You just see he had his 2-point stop in place, and he didn't do anything but let the trade manage itself, and he made some good money. And so he's learning. I know for a fact that he's getting it, and he's starting to see it, and that's what it takes. But anyway, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's almost 20 minutes here. I'm going to wrap it up. It's the weekend. I want to go have some fun. You do the same. When you do have time, watch the video, study, and learn to be able to find these channels and these trend lines, because they're almost always there. And if they're not, then you're in a trading range, and you should be able to find a flat support and resistance all the same. And that will give you the clues of where to enter, the best places to enter, which are always on the support and resistance. And you just got to be patient and see. Prices never came back up there on that one where I had it drawn earlier. I can't remember exactly where I had it drawn. I think I had it. I think I had it maybe. No, I had it off these two. That's what it was. So we never came back up there. So there really wasn't any other key entry points on this one. So that was pretty easy to see. But even if you drew it off this other one, like I showed you here that I found later, you did have another touchdown here and then off down again. But if you just took these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you probably can count that one, 9, 10 trades, 11, and you might have got trapped on that right there, but you should have known to wait on another entry when you get that many overlapping dojis down there. There's a good chance they're going to trap you. But even if you had if you kept at a 2-point stop, if you had one tick below that, you got stopped out. But look how far away. Remember how I talk about that? When you get this overlap real far away from the EMA, wait for the break lower or the break higher, and then fade that, because odds are we're snapping back fast to the EMA, and that's, look how fast that snapped back. And all it was, they had a lot of trap traders. And this is similar. We're not that far away from the EMA, but look, it broke, went lower, and then snapped back, right back to the EMA. And that happens over and over. If you just waited on these kind of trades every day, you could make a living. There may not be many of them, but there's going to be some. And if you wait on them, you can make a good living trading the market just on these little traps that wait till the prices get way away from the EMA and start overlapping like this right here, and then wait for that little failed break and then fade that, and off to the races you'll be back to the EMA. And they're usually easy scalps, and those are one of my favorite setups, and I will take those counter trend every single time because they're almost gimmies. So I'm up to 22 minutes now. So this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.